Hey gang, welcome to Finally Garage. I'm Mike, and in this video our goal is to get this 1967 GTO into the garage. So let's get going. So what I want to do is to use my 67 Ford F-250 and to rig up a makeshift tow bar so that we can attach to the frame here and the bumper of this guy, the rear bumper. And today I really just want to get that sort of all hooked up. I did something similar to this when I was in the Army many years ago. When I was a mechanic, they would sort of informally allow us to work on our vehicles at night in the motor pool, and I had a 74 Monte Carlo that I did some work on, was doing some engine work on, and I couldn't get it done by the morning, and it had to be out of there by the morning. So it was late at night. I didn't have anybody to help me, so I did a similar deal where I kind of rigged up a tow bar and pulled it out. And what I found was the wheels didn't track. They either turned all the way to one side or the other. And at that point, I just had to get it out of there, so I just sort of dragged it, into a spot, outside of the motor pool. In this case, what I'd like to do is, if that's the case with this one, I'll just take it slow and try and turn the wheels, the direction that they need to go, if they don't want to go that way on their own. The problem that I have, or the small problem I have, is that the steering shaft is not connected. You can see right there at the steering gearbox. So I'm going to have to hook that up, make sure that all works, turns okay. And well, it's Sunday morning, and this rigging is either going to be brilliant or a complete disaster. Either way, you'll get to witness it. I'd say that qualifies as complete disaster. Anyway, I've been told you have to fail before you can succeed, so I've gotten failure out of the way, I hope. I didn't account for the sideways force when, the truck started to move. Tried to move the car sideways. That's why I have a plan B, and probably should have a plan C. Plan B is to finish wiring up this winch, this little Champion winch that I bought a while back. The idea was to mount it to this board so I could have something mobile and then run it off a car battery so I could kind of take it where I wanted. For the garage, the idea is to sink an anchor bolt into the concrete, maybe back here, and then have a place where I can attach this. So that's what I'm going to try. We'll see if this winch has the oomph to pull that car up into the garage. So I actually spent quite a bit of time working on this winch, much more time than I show in this video. And you know, first was basically I was trying to get the wireless function to work. This is supposed to work wirelessly, so you can use a remote control, which would have made things a lot easier, but I just could not get it to work. So you know, after a lot of futzing around with it, I finally gave up and just wired it with it also comes with just a manual switch on a cable, which you can see there by my coffee cup. So that's how I ended up wiring it up. But I really do want to get that wireless function working at some point. Okay. So I need to lower the car down from the side of the house into the driveway, and I needed an anchor point to hook my winch. And I had this stump sitting there in just about the right location, so I thought I'd give that a shot, and so I sank a 1/2 inch by 6 inch lag bolt in there and connected a chain to that and hooked it up to my winch, and that seemed to work pretty well. Now you see me as I'm lowering the car, I let it go down maybe 6-8 inches, and I had chalk blocks in front of the wheels because, as you can see from the street beyond, there's quite a bit of traffic. The last thing I wanted was a vehicle flying out into traffic, so I was moving the chalk blocks and then moving the car, and I did that many times. And here you see how I was keeping the wheel turned. I had a bungee cord hooked to the wheel. So one of the reasons I was being kind of paranoid with the chalk blocks and only moving the car a little bit was that when I very first started using the winch, I heard the board start cracking. And here you see disaster number 2. So I had to refabricate a base for the winch, and this time using a piece of channel steel, and that's what I'm doing now. So now the car has been lowered down into the driveway. It's kind of at an angle, like a 45-degree angle in the driveway, down to the bottom of the driveway. And I need to create an anchor. So I've drilled out a 1/2 inch anchor point, put a concrete anchor in, hooking up my winch to that. And this is the setup I'm going to use to pull the car up into the garage. So I didn't get good video of it, but at this point I dragged the winch cable out to the car. The car was kind of at an angle in the driveway, and as soon as I started winching the car back up towards the garage, the little screws and nuts that I had connecting the steering shaft to the steering gearbox, they broke loose. The screws held okay, but the actual rag joint was all mangled and it just kind of fell apart. So I had to basically go in there with this pipe wrench and turn the wheels, manually by just hooking onto the the shaft of the steering gearbox there. And then they kept wanting, you know, if I had them cranked at all, they kept wanting to straighten out. So I kind of wedged the pipe wrench in there and dragged it up there, kind of looking like this. Hey gang, so yes, the GTO did make it into the garage. I thought I had turned on the camera for the last part, me winching up the driveway and it back into the garage, but apparently I did not have the camera on. Honestly, the temperature was above 100 degrees at that point, and I'd been working on, you know, all day in it, and I was somewhat out of my mind. But you know, other than sort of having to run up and down the driveway and adjust the chock blocks, because I still didn't really trust in, you know, my setup, trust in the winch and trust in the anchor bolt I put down and everything. So I was still only moving the car, you know, 10 inches to a foot, and then, you know, inching up the chock blocks just to make sure if anything happened, it wouldn't roll out into the street. But nothing did happen, and it was fairly routine. It pulled straight back up into the driveway, into the garage, and here it is. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. The one thing, you know, the one tool that I used that I'd probably want to cover would be the winch, Champion 4,500 pound winch. I'll put a link to that down below. The one issue that I had with it was I couldn't get the Wi-Fi. It's actually Wi-Fi enabled. I couldn't get that to work. I think I mentioned that. And so I had to hardwire, you know, the hard switch, and I had to be near the winch to use it. I will be replacing the batteries in the controller, and you know, checking my wiring again and seeing if I can get it to work with the wireless. I'll put a link to that down below, the winch, and I will keep you guys informed as to whether I get that wireless working on it. I have added my twisted piece of angle iron here to the wall of shame. It's the first item, but I have a feeling that, knowing me, I'm gonna need a bigger wall. Also, my shirt of the day is Atomic Liquor. It's my favorite bar in Vegas, downtown Las Vegas, on Fremont Street, far enough away from the tourist areas that you get about half mix of tourists and half locals, which is kind of my favorite, get the two mixing up. Yeah, other than that, once again, thank everybody who's watched. Please, you know, like and subscribe if you're interested. And it's really hot in this garage and I'm sweating like a pig, so I think I'm gonna call it there. Thanks again.